Hi guys, and welcome back to the Crochet Toy YouTube channel. In today's video I'm bringing you another new crochet tutorial. This time it's for another Animal Crossing character, so it's for Erik. So here he is. So this is another one of my patterns that I used to sell on my Etsy, but now I'm releasing it for free. This actually used to be my most popular pattern, so I hope you guys are quite happy about this being released for free, and I hope you guys really like this pattern. I'd say it's probably one of the more advanced patterns that I have on my channel, so if you're a complete beginner I probably wouldn't recommend that you try this until you're a bit more familiar with Amigurumi techniques, but if you're intermediate to advanced I'd say you can probably do this. And yeah, that's basically everything. So as always, the written pattern will be available on my blog for free, but it will be as a downloadable PDF in the same format that I used to sell it on Etsy. That'll all be linked down below. And without further ado, let's get into what you'll be needing for this tutorial. For this tutorial you'll be needing aran weight yarn in a few different colours. So firstly you'll be needing a darker brown and a lighter brown. You'll be needing cream, pink, black, red and dark blue. Then you'll be needing your crochet hook. I'm using 4mm to go with my aran weight yarn, but you can size up or down if you're using a different weight of yarn. You'll need your yarn needle to sew pieces together. You'll be needing felt in black and white for the eyes. You'll be needing some fabric tack or any other fabric glue to glue down your felt eyes. You'll be needing some stitch markers. I'm just using offcuts of yarn, as you can see here. You'll need some stuffing. You'll need more than this, but this is just to demonstrate. Some scissors, and finally you probably want some pins as well to pin things in place when you're sewing them down. So that's everything you'll be needing for this tutorial. So we're going to start off by making the head. So for this you're going to need your darker brown yarn. We're going to start off by doing 6 single crochets in a magic circle. So that's the end of round 1, and then for round 2 you're going to do an increase in every single crochet all the way around. Okay, so at the end of round 2 you should have 12 single crochets all the way around, and if you've got a bit of a hole still in the middle you might just need to give your tail a bit of a pull again, and as you can see that's closed up. So I'm just going to talk you through the next few rounds because they're just standard increases in increments of 6 each round. So for round 3 you're going to do single crochet increase and repeat that pattern 5 more times to get you to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 4, 2 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 24 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 5, 3 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 30 single crochets at the end of the round. Then round 6, 4 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 36 single crochets at the end of the round. Then round 7 to 15 single crochet all the way around. So I'll meet you at the end of round 15, as in round 16 we're going to start doing some decreases, so I'll show you how to do that. So I'm just about ready to start round 16 now. So as I mentioned, we're going to start doing some decreases. So we're going to do 4 single crochets. And then we're going to do a decrease. Just like that, and I'll show you one more. So 4 single crochets. A decrease, and you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around, and that will get you down to 30 single crochets at the end of round 16. I'm also going to talk you through the next couple of rounds after that, as it's just again standard decreases in increments of 6 each round. So round 17 you're going to do 3 single crochet decrease and repeat that pattern 5 more times to get you down to 24 single crochets at the end of the round. then round 18, 2 single crochet decrease, and repeat that 5 more times to get you down to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. I'll meet you when you're ready to start round 19, as we then just need to add some stuffing. So I finished round 18 and I've just added some stuffing, as you can see, so you can kind of see the head shape now. So for round 19 you're just going to do single crochet decrease and repeat that 5 more times to get you down to 12 single crochets at the end of the round, and then round 20 decrease all the way around. I'll meet you at the end of round 20. Don't forget to leave a long tail for sewing when you get to the end of round 20. So I just got to the end of round 20 and now I'm just going to cut my yarn, leaving quite a long tail for sewing. So that is the head. Now we're going to move on to making the nose. So for the nose we're going to be using our lighter brown colour. We're going to start off in round 1 by doing 6 single crochets in a magic circle. Then for round 2 we're going to do a single crochet, then we're going to do 2 increases, and then we're going to repeat that again, so single crochet and then 2 increases. I'm just going to close up that hole a little bit. So at the end of round 2 you should have 10 single crochets. For round 3 you're going to do 2 single crochets, then 2 increases, then 3 single crochets, then 2 increases, and then you're going to just finish off with a single crochet in the last stitch. So at the end of round 3 you should have 14 single crochets. Then for round 4 we're going to do 3 slip stitches, then 2 increases, then 5 slip stitches, then 2 increases again, and then 2 slip stitches. So now at the end of round 4 you should have 18 stitches in total, and that includes the slip stitches, each counted as 1 stitch. So for rounds 5 to 6 you're simply going to single crochet all the way around, so 18 single crochets in each round, and I'll meet you at the end of round 6 and show you what to do next. So I've just got to the end of round 6. The first thing I'm going to do is mark the final stitch of the round with a stitch marker, and you'll understand why we're doing this a little bit later. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail, not too much. I'm going to pull that tail through like this, and then I'm going to finish off with a fake single crochet. So how you do this is turn your work like this, skip this next stitch, put your hook into the one after that, pull the yarn tail through like this, Then go back to that final single crochet from round 6 into the loop that's closest to us, so just this one, and then pull that yarn tail through again. And as you can see, that's created this fake single crochet, so it's harder to tell where the round ended there. And the final thing that I am going to just do here as well is to knot this on the inside of the nose, try and keep it secure. So I'm just going to do a little knot here, and then I can hide that tail inside the nose later on. So now there's just a little bit more that we need to do to finish off the nose, so we're going to reattach our yarn into this marked stitch here. And if you're wondering why we didn't simply just carry on crocheting after the end of round 6, I just find that this way of doing it makes this extra piece that we're going to be crocheting here look more even, whereas if you carried on after round 6, it just looked a little bit wonky when I tried doing it that way. So yeah, I'm not just overcomplicating things for the sake of it here, but what we're going to do is we're just going to be simply working in rows. So for each row we're going to do 3 single crochets, so 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to chain 1, turn, and then we're going to do another row, so this is row 2, then chain 1, turn, this is row 3, chain 1, turn, and then finally row 4, again just 3 single crochets. And that is it. So this is the nose piece, this is what it looks like. So now we're just going to cut our yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. Just like this. So now we're ready to sew this to the head. So what you want to do next is to pin this nose piece to the middle of the face, kind of like this. As you can see, I'm a few rounds away from round 1, so I'm probably at the top of mine is at round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Approximately round 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew this all the way around, and obviously before you quite reach the end, make sure that you add some stuffing to the nose, and I'll show you when I get to that part as well. But I'm just going to be doing, I think, a running stitch for this. So I'm going to go into a brown loop, then back through brown loop and into one of the lighter brown, then into the lighter brown and one of the darker brown loops, then darker brown and lighter brown. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm just going to do this until I've got a little bit of space left on this side to add some stuffing, and then I'll carry on sewing all the way down. So I just wanted to show you that I've reached this point of sewing around and I've added some stuffing to the nose. You don't need loads, just a little bit will do. And now I'm going to finish sewing all the way around until I reach where I started. I finished sewing the nose piece down. This is what it looks like, and I'm just going to feed that yarn tail through the nose so that I can then cut it. So that's that, and then I'm just going to cut that as close as I can to the surface. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to adding the eyes and the eyebrows and the little black dots for the nose. So I've just cut out some felt pieces for the face now. I tend to just do this freehand and I don't tend to film it because whenever I film it I always completely mess it up. So yeah, sometimes it takes me a few attempts to get the right shape, but that's just how I prefer to do it. You can make some templates or draw some pencil on some felt if you need some guidance, but all you need to do is cut out 2 eyebrows. That's probably the hardest shape to do, so if you start with that then it's only easier from there. Then you just need 2 white sort of oval shapes and 2 smaller black ones for the eyes, and then for the nose you just need these 2 small black circles. So I'm now just going to glue these onto the face and you can see how they're positioned. As you can see, I've glued everything down now, so I've just glued the eyes and the eyebrows either side of the nose, and then I've just added the little dots to the sort of centre of the nose really. So for the hair piece, we're going to go back to our darker brown again, and we're going to start off by chaining 6, and then we're just going to be working along this chain, so it's quite a quick and easy piece to make. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by working in the second chain from hook, so that's this one here. You can work in the front loop if you want, or you can work in the back loop. I'm going to work in the back loop, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a single crochet in this, and then we're going to do 2 half double crochets. So I'll just show you the half double crochet, yarn over, then pull through all these 3 loops on your hook. We're going to do another half double crochet in that same chain, and then we're going to do another single crochet in that chain. So that's all we're going to do in this second chain from hook. Then in the next one, we're going to just do a slip stitch. Then in the chain after that, we're going to repeat that exact same pattern that we just previously did. So single crochet, 2 half double crochet, single crochet. Then in the next chain, we're going to do a slip stitch. And then in this final chain, you guessed it, we're going to do the exact same pattern again. So we're going to do a single crochet, then 2 half double crochets, and then finish off with a single crochet. So okay, and that is all you need to do for this hair piece. So I'm just going to cut my yarn, leaving a tail for sewing, and then I'm going to pin this to the top of the head, and we're going to just sew this down. I've pinned the hair piece to the top of the head, just above the nose and the eyebrows like this, and I'm just going to sew it down again using a running stitch like we did before. So show you a few of the stitches, and then I'll just carry on and complete the rest off camera. Okay, so I'm just going to go all the way around the hairpiece like that, and I'll meet you when I finished sewing it down. I finished sewing down the hairpiece now, so as usual, I'm just going to kind of weave the yarn tail through the head to the back, and I'm going to also weave this other tail as well, if it's long enough to reach. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut those. So this is what the head's looking like now, and we're going to move on to making the ears. So there's 2 parts to the ears. There's the main darker brown ear itself, and then there's this like pink inner ear piece that we also need to make. So I'm going to show you how to make both of those pieces now, and obviously you need 2 of each. So to start off with, we're going to make the main ear itself. So with your darker brown yarn, you're going to start off by doing 4 single crochets in a magic circle for round 1. And then for round 2, you're going to do single crochet increase, single crochet increase. So that's round 2, and at the end of round 2 you should have 6 single crochets all the way around. I'm just going to talk you through the next few rounds because it's just increases this time in increments of 2 each round. So round 3 you're going to do 2 single crochet increase, 2 single crochet increase. That'll get you to 8 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 4, 3 single crochet increase, 3 single crochet increase to get you to 10. Round 5, 4 single crochet increase, 4 single crochet increase to get you to 12. Round 6, 5 single crochet increase, 5 single crochet increase to get you to 14. Round 7, 6 single crochet increase, 6 single crochet increase to get you to 16. Round 8, 7 single crochet increase, 7 single crochet increase to get you to 18. Round 9, 8 single crochet increase, 8 single crochet increase to get you to 20. And then rounds 10 to 11 just single crochet all the way around, so I'll meet you at the end of round 11. I just reached the end of round 11 and now all I'm going to do is cut my yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. So you're going to need to make 2 of these ears, and when you've done that, come back and we'll make the inner ear pink bit next. For the inner ear we're going to be using pink and we're going to be working in rows. So to start off with, we're going to chain 8 for our foundation chain. So for row number 1, we're just going to single crochet all the way across the chain, and as always we're going to start in the second chain from hook and I'm going to work in the back loops. So I'm going to do 7 single crochets. I am going to also try and single crochet over this tail too, just to secure it in place. You don't need to do this, but it just makes it a little bit easier, and you can just snip that tail at the end if you crochet over it to secure it in place. So I've just done 7 single crochets, so that's the end of row 1. Then we're going to chain 1, turn, and for row 2 we're just going to single crochet across the row once again, so 7 single crochets. So that's the end of row 2. For row 3, again, chain 1, turn, and we're going to do a decrease, then 3 single crochets, and then another decrease. And I'm just going to talk you through the remaining rows because they're just now a mixture of single crochets and decreases, which I've already shown you. So at the start of each row you want to make sure that you chain 1 and turn. So for row 4 you're going to just single crochet across, that'll be 5 single crochets. Row 5, decrease, single crochet, decrease to bring you down to 3 single crochets. Row 6, single crochet across, so just 3 single crochets. And then I'm actually going to meet you when you're ready to start row 7, as we're doing something ever so slightly different in that row that I think is just easier for me to show you. I've done my chain 1 turn and I'm ready to start row 7. So for row 7 we're going to do 2 decreases, but obviously you'll notice that we've only got 3 stitches to decrease into. So for the first decrease we're going to do that in the first and second single crochet, so just like this. And then for the second decrease we're going to do that in the second and third single crochet, so just like this. So that's the end of row 7, and then we're going to just chain 1, turn, and we're going to just finish off with row 8, which is just 1 decrease. Just like this. So now I'm just going to cut my yarn, again leaving a tail for sewing. And you can also cut this little tail if you've single crocheted over it. So what you need is obviously your 2 ears and then these 2 inner ear pieces like this. And what we're going to do is we're just obviously going to sew these inner ear pieces down to the ear, and then we can sew the ears to the head. So I'm going to show you how to sew these pink pieces down first. I'm going to sew the pink piece to the ear using a running stitch, so I'll just show you the start of me doing that. So I'm going to go into a brown loop, then into another nearby brown loop, and back through a pink loop, then a pink, and then a brown, and then another brown, and then a pink. And hopefully you kind of get the idea at this point, so I'm just going to be doing that all the way around until I get back to where I started, just like this. So I'll meet you when I've done that. As you can see, I finished sewing this down, and I just weaved my pink yarn tail through to a stitch in the middle of the ear, so I can now just snip this. So once you've got both of your ears ready like this, come back and I'll show you how to sew these to the head. Once you've got your two ears ready like this, it's now time to move on to making the antlers, and then we'll sew both the antlers and the ears to the head. This is one of the finished antlers. This is what they're going to look like when we're done. And basically to make this, we just make these 3 little spikes separately, and then we join them all together, and then we end up doing a few extra rounds here to create this kind of little stump at the end of the antler, and then we just need to sew up the gap that will be remaining at the bottom here. So I'll show you all those steps now. So you need to grab your cream coloured yarn, and we're going to start off by making one of those spikes that I just mentioned. So for round 1, you're just going to do 3 single crochets in a magic circle. So that's round 1. Then for round 2, you're going to increase all the way around. So that'll get you up to 6 single crochets at the end of the round. Okay, so that's the end of round 2. Then for round 3, you're going to just single crochet all the way around, so that's 6 single crochets. And then finally for round 4, you're going to do 2 single crochet increase, 2 single crochet increase, and that's going to get you to 8 single crochets at the end of the round. So that is the finished first spike. So I'm just going to cut my yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail. So you're going to want to make 2 more of these. On the second one, you're going to want to cut your yarn again, but on the third one, don't cut your yarn, leave your yarn on the hook, and we're going to join all of the 3 spikes together in the next round. So come back when you've got 3 of these. I've got all my spikes here, and now I'm going to join all of them together. So you're going to start off by selecting one of the spikes that's not on your hook currently, and you're just going to do 4 single crochets into this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to grab your other spike that's not currently on your hook, and you're going to work 8 single crochets all the way around this. So I'm just going to do that now. Then you're going to go back to that middle spike and you're going to work 4 single crochets across this, and I'm also going to be crocheting over the tail from this spike just to kind of secure that in place, and then we can cut that or hide it inside the antler. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then finally you're going to work 4 single crochets into the first spike that you already had on your hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So now all of your spikes should be joined together, as you can see here, and I'm just going to cut all of those tails just to get them out of the way. You can just leave them inside the spikes if you want to, it's up to you, but I'm just going to get rid of them so they don't get in my way. So now that all our spikes are joined together, we're going to work our first round. So I'm just going to do 10 single crochets to start with, and I am going to use a stitch marker to just remind myself where the round started. So that's the first one. Now I'm going to work 9 more. Okay, and then when you've done your 10 single crochets, you're just going to do 2 decreases. And then you're just going to do 10 more single crochets, and that should take you up to your stitch marker. So that's the end of that round. So you should have 22 single crochets all the way around. In the next few rounds, we're just going to create that little stump at the end of the antler, so this part here. So you're going to start off by doing 4 single crochets, and you can use a stitch marker, but I'm not going to bother. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to skip the next 14 stitches and do 4 single crochets into the final 4 single crochets of the round. So like I say, you can either count 14 and then work into the next one, or you could count back 8, and that would be the one that you need to start working in now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's this one here. So just going to do 4 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And as you can see, we've now got a 8 single crochet circle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So for the final 2 rounds, we're simply going to single crochet all the way around. So that's 8 single crochets for each round. There we go. That's all that you need to do in terms of crocheting for the antler. So now what you can do is just cut your yarn, leaving a bit of a tail for sewing. I always like to leave a bit more than I potentially think I need. And now the final thing to do is just to sew up this gap so that it's closed, and then we'll just add a little bit of stuffing as well, just to the stump part of the antler. To sew up this gap, you're just going to get a length of your cream yarn, and you're just going to do a whip stitch along here. So just going across like this. Then you can just feed your yarn tail through the antler like that, and you can do the same with the tail on the other end. Just feed that. And then just snip both of those. So now the final thing to do is just add a little bit of stuffing. And when I say a little bit, I really do mean just a little bit, so that might even be too much, but we're just gonna see. So a little tip for stuffing tight areas, just use the other side of your crochet hook, or you could also use your scissors as well. Sometimes I use that. Actually, that seems to be just about the right amount to stuff that. I'm just gonna put both my antlers together now. So yep, I'm happy with those. So we've got now our 2 antlers and our 2 ears, and we're going to be sewing these to the head now. As you can see, I've already sewn down one side, so I'm going to do the other one with you now. So I find it easier to start with sewing down the antler, but you can do it in whatever order that you prefer. And I'm just going to sew this one down by doing a whip stitch all the way around. Before I carry on, I'm just going to check that I'm still happy with the positioning. I think that's fine. Going to do one more position check. Okay, so that's the antler sewn down. I'm going to move on to sewing the ear down now. I've got my ear and I'm just going to position it slightly further back than the antler and just to the side of the head like this. You can use pins if it helps you, but I'm personally not going to do that for this. So once again, I'm just going to be doing a whip stitch all the way around. Can't seem to get into that loop. There we go. that's the back of the ear sewn down. I'm going to sew all the way around the front as well now. I'm just going to do one extra stitch to kind of shift this top part of the ear up slightly, because I think that will align a bit better with the other side. And now I'm going to carry on sewing it at the front. Nearly done. Okay, so as you can see, everything is sewn down now. So I'm just going to weave my yarn tail probably through the back of the head actually, and then I'll just be able to cut that, and I'll do the same with my antler tail as well. So that is the head finished. So we're now going to make Erik's jumper. We're going to start off at the collar, and we're going to be using our cream yarn to start off with. So we're going to be working in rows for this. We're going to start with a foundation chain of 3, so 1, 2, 3, and then for row 1 you're just going to single crochet across the chain. You can work in the front loops or the back loops, it doesn't matter. And you're just going to do 2 single crochets. I'm also going to try and crochet over this tail so that I can secure it in place. So 1, 2, and then I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and then I'm ready to start row 2. So for row 2 you're just going to do the exact same thing again, 2 single crochets, but in that second single crochet you're going to change to blue. So I've got my dark blue colour here, and there we go, I've just changed to blue, and I'm going to chain 1 and turn. So now I'm ready to start row 3. Again, you're noticing a pattern here, but we're just single crocheting across in each row. So 1, 2, then I'm going to chain 1, turn, and then row 4 I'm going to do 2 single crochets again, but in this final single crochet I'm going to change colour to cream, and I am just going to be basically leaving the tail down here and then using it like this. So I'm not going to cut the tail every time I change colour, is basically what I'm trying to say, and it doesn't really affect the look of what we're creating here if you do it this way, and it's just a lot easier to do it like that. So yep, I've just changed colour, chain 1, turn, and I'm ready to start row 5. So you're basically just going to repeat those exact same rows all the way up to row 23. So you're just going to be alternating between 2 rows in cream and 2 rows in blue all the way up to, as I mentioned, row 23, and then I'll meet you at that point, as we then need to in row 24 basically join the collar all together to make an actual circle. And I will just show you a couple more rows if you want, just so you can see the colour change again. So this is row 5, This is row 6 and I'm going to change to blue. This is row 7. This is row 8. And I'm going to change back to cream. So as you can see, if you don't cut your yarn, you do end up with these kind of lines of yarn along the bottom, but it doesn't actually matter, and you'll see that when we make the full jumper, that it doesn't actually matter that you have these bits of yarn at the bottom. So I just recommend doing it like this to make your life a little bit easier. So anyway, I'll meet you when you've completed row 23. So I just finished row 23 and I did my chain 1 turn and I'm ready to start row 24. This is what the collar should look like. So as I mentioned, for row 24 we're going to be joining the other end of the collar into the row so that we can join everything together. So you're basically just going to single crochet these together. So you're going to do your 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. Oops. So that is row 24. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my yarn. You don't need to worry about leaving a tail for sewing or anything like that, so I'm just going to leave a bit of a tail so that I have something that I can fasten off and secure in place, just like this. And then you're going to turn your collar inside out like this. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start working in rounds around the collar like this to create the body. So to start working the rounds for the body, you're just going to have to reattach your cream yarn into any stitch along the collar, and also you can have the collar either way up, so you can crochet over these kind of little pieces of yarn that were kind of left there from doing all the colour changes if you want to, but personally I quite like how that effect actually looks, so I'm going to be crocheting this part, but yeah, you can do it either way. It doesn't make a difference, and it doesn't matter which stitch you reattach your cream yarn into either. So I'm just going to pick this one, I think. So I'm just grabbing my cream, and I will weave in these tails probably at the end, or I might just hide them inside the body, so don't worry if you've got tails as well at this point. So I've just reattached my cream yarn, as you can see, and basically all we're going to do now is we're just going to work 25 single crochets around the collar as evenly as possible. Obviously we had 24 rows rather than 25, so you are going to have to kind of fit an extra single crochet in somewhere rather than just doing 1 single crochet for each row, but yeah, that should be fine. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on until I've done 25, so I'll meet you when I've done that. I've worked 25 single crochets all the way around now, so that's round 1 complete. Now for round 2 we're going to do 4 single crochet increase all the way around, so basically repeating that pattern 5 times in total, but every 5th stitch we're going to be working it in blue, so you're just going to have to be careful and count along as you do this. So I'll show you a few of the stitches. I won't show you the full round because it will be quite repetitive, but I'm going to go like this. So 1, and actually I am going to mark that first stitch too, because just so that I don't get confused and I know where the round started. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then this is going to be the 4th single crochet, so I should really pull through in my dark blue so that I'm ready to use this in the 5th. So that's 4. And I know I need to do an increase now, but I just need to do the first single crochet in blue and then move back to my cream colour. So I'm going to be just doing 1 single crochet in blue, and then the other single crochet of the increase in this stitch I'm going to just do it in my cream colour. and overall that is the 6th stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 we've done at this point. So now I'm going to go 7, 8, 9, and I know that the next one I'm going to need to do in blue as well, so I'm going to pull through in my blue colour. So that was 9, 10, 'and then I know that in the next single crochet, sorry, I need to do an increase, so 11 and 12. So as you can see, it does get a little bit confusing trying to count both the 5th stitch and then also just being aware that you need to do 4 single crochet increase, 4 single crochet increase, so you have to kind of keep a track of both patterns. But if you just take it slowly and count each stitch as you go, then you should be able to do it. So I'm just going to finish doing that pattern all the way around, and then I'll meet you when you're ready to start round 3. So I got to the end of round 2. As you can see, every 5th stitch is blue, and you should have 30 single crochets all the way around. Luckily for round 3, there's not going to be any more increases, so now all we need to keep a track of is just where we're doing our colour changes. But we are going to introduce a 3rd colour into the mix this time, so we're going to introduce red as well. So there's going to be a mixture of cream, blue and red stitches required in round 3. So we're going to start off in the first single crochet in our blue colour here, so that's going to be the first one, and we know that we're going to need to do cream in the next stitch, so I'm just going to pull through in cream like that, and I am just going to mark that first stitch as well so I can keep track of where I'm at in the round. So that's the first stitch. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a pattern that we're going to be repeating 5 times in total around the collar. So this pattern is going to be cream, cream, blue, red, blue. So I'm going to do cream, cream, and I know the next one's going to be blue, so I'm going to pull through in blue, then blue, and I need to get my red colour now. So blue, then red, and then blue. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of tails and things going on here, so just take your time with this. And if it's really too difficult for you, you can always just do a plain coloured jumper as well. This is just if you want to have the effect of the colour changes. But yeah, that's the first sort of pattern of set of 5 that I've done there. So I'm going to do the next one again. So once again, it's going to be cream, cream, blue, red, blue, so you're going to repeat that pattern 3 more times, and then in the final 4 single crochets of the round you're going to do cream, cream, blue, red. So I'll meet you when you've completed round 3. So I've just completed round 3, and this is what it's looking like. So you can see the kind of little pattern taking shape now. I'm just going to talk you through the remaining rounds of the body, because I think I've shown you colour changing probably enough now. So it's just going to be a few rounds of single crocheting all the way around, but in different colours. So for round 4, you're going to do 4 single crochets in cream, 1 in blue, and you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around, so 6 times in total. Then for round 5, you're going to do your first single crochet in blue, and then for the next 5 single crochets, you're going to do cream, 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 blue, blue. You're going to repeat that pattern of 5 4 more times, and then in the final 4 stitches, you're going to do cream, 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 blue. And I'll have all of this on screen as well and on my blog, so you don't have to worry about forgetting the colours that we're going to be needing. Then the final few rounds are a lot more simple because they're just single crocheting all the way around, but in one colour for each round. So round 6 you're going to just single crochet all the way around in in cream for round 6. Then round 7 you're going to single crochet all the way around in blue. Round 8 you're going to single crochet all the way around in cream, and then rounds 9 to 10 you're going to single crochet all the way around in red. So I'll meet you when you finished round 10. Just got to the end of round 10 and this is what the jumper looks like now. So now I'm just going to slip stitch into the next stitch and then cut my yarn because we're done with our red and we're done working in rounds for now. So, and then I'll just weave that in a bit later on. I'll probably just leave that for now. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab our cream yarn again, and just to finish off the jumper we're going to work some ribbing around the bottom, and that's going to be worked in rows. So to work the ribbing you're going to reattach your cream yarn into any of the single crochets from round 10. And you're going to want to hold on to the tail just for a little bit so that everything doesn't all fall apart. So you're going to start off by chaining 2. Then you're going to single crochet across the chain, so that's 2 single crochets, and I'm working in the front loops this time just because it's a bit easier. And then I'm also going to crochet over the tail in my second single crochet just to keep things nice and securely in place like that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to slip stitch into the next single crochet of the jumper like this. So that's the end of row 1. Then for row 2 you're again going to do another slip stitch into the next single crochet of the jumper. You're going to turn your work like this, and then you're going to do 2 single crochets across row 1, and you're just going to work those in the back loops only, so the loops furthest away from us. So 1 and 2. Then you're going to chain 1 and turn, and now you're ready to start row 3. So for row 3 again you're going to single crochet into the back loops only of each single crochet, so 1, 2, and then you're going to slip stitch into the next single crochet of the jumper like this. So that's the end of row 3, and basically you're just going to repeat rows 2 to 3 all of the way around the jumper until you get back to where you started, at which point I'll show you how to slip stitch to row 1 to join everything together. But I am just going to show you the 2 rows that you need to repeat just once more so that you can get the idea. So you're going to do a slip stitch into the next single crochet of the jumper, you're going to turn your work, you're going to single crochet into the back loops only of the previous row, so 1, 2, you're going to chain 1, turn, then you're going to single crochet into the back loops of the previous row again, and then you're going to slip stitch into the next single crochet of the jumper. And as you can see, that is creating this kind of ribbed effect, and you'll see it better once we've done it all the way around. So I'll meet you when you've done that. So I've done the ribbing all the way around now, as you can see, and I'm just going to do a final row where I slip stitch the first row and this final row together. Just like that. Then when you've done that you can just cut your yarn. You don't need to leave a tail for sewing, but you might just want to leave a little bit of a tail so that you can secure this in place. So this is what my jumper is now looking like. So now what we're going to move on to doing is making the legs. So you're going to need your brown yarn that matches the head colour that you used for this. So the first thing you're going to want to do is flatten your jumper like this and just decide which is going to be the front side for you. So I think this is where I would like my front to be, and this will be the back because it's a bit more messy at the back, as you can see here where all the colour changes have happened. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reattach my brown yarn into a stitch on our left hand side, so at this side of the jumper. So I'm just going to do that. Okay, so now that I've reattached my yarn, I'm just going to work 30 single crochets around as evenly as possible. And you're going to want to try and work in kind of backish loops where possible. So I know it's a bit difficult to see, but where it's possible to work into a loop towards the back, you might want to do that because it creates more of a layered effect. Then it kind of looks like the jumper is sat on top of the legs. It's not always going to be possible to work in a back loop, but yeah. So like here, for example, you could work in this loop here at the front, but I'm going to work in this back loop here instead. So I'm just going to keep doing that until I've done 30 single crochets all the way around. So now I've worked 30 single crochets all the way around. We're just going to do a couple more rounds now before we actually split off to make the two separate legs. So for round 2, you're just going to single crochet all the way around, and then for round 3, you're going to do decrease 11 single crochets, 2 decreases, 11 single crochets, decrease, and that will get you down to 26 single crochets at the end of round 3. So I'll meet you when you've done that. So I finished that third round, and this is what it's looking like now. So what we're going to do now is to map out the legs with some stitch markers, just to make it a bit easier to see where they're going to be positioned, and then we're going to split off and make those two legs. So the first leg that we're going to make, we're going to count 5 single crochets after that final single crochet that we just did there, and I'm just going to remove this stitch marker as well so I don't confuse myself. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to place our stitch marker in this stitch. And then we're going to count back 10, including this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to place a stitch marker in this stitch. And then we're needing to basically map out 2 legs that are 10 single crochets all the way around each, with a 3 single crochet gap between them. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and go into this 4th stitch. Place another stitch marker, and then finally on the other side I'm going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that should map out 2 legs, 10 single crochets all the way around each, and then 3 single crochet gap between them. So now we're going to start making the first leg. So for round 1, we're going to single crochet up to that first stitch marker that we placed. That should be 5 single crochets. And then we're going to do our next single crochet into this marked stitch at the back here. So I'm just going to remove that because I know which one I'm working in. So it's this one. And then we're going to do 4 more single crochets after that. So that's the end of round 1, and you should have 10 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now for rounds 2 to 4, you're just going to single crochet all the way around. Then for round 5, you're going to single crochet all the way around, but in your cream colour. Then for round 6 to 7, single crochet all the way around, but in your black colour. And I'll meet you at the end of round 7, as we then need to make sure that we stuff the leg at this point. So I just finished round 7 and I added some stuffing to the leg, as you can see. So now for round 8 I'm just going to decrease all the way around, so that's going to be 5 decreases. So once you've done that, you're just going to cut your yarn and we're going to close up the hole. So if you grab your yarn needle, you're just going to weave your tail that's on your needle through the front loop of each of those 5 final stitches from round 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pull tightly and then just weave your yarn tail through. I'm probably just going to weave it through to inside the body and I'll just leave it hanging in there like that. So as you can see, that's our first leg complete. So now we're going to need to reattach our brown yarn to start the second leg. So we're going to flip our work over so that the back is facing us, and with this marked stitch we're going to count this and count back 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the one that we're going to reattach our brown yarn into. So for round 1 you're just going to do 5 single crochets, which should take you up to that stitch marker. Then you're going to do your next single crochet into the next marked stitch. And then you're going to do 4 more single crochets, and that should get you a round of 10 single crochets. So that is the end of round 1. For rounds 2 to 8 you're going to repeat exactly the same as what we did on this leg. So just to remind you, that's rounds 2 to 4 single crochet all the way around in your brown colour, round 5 single crochet all the way around in cream, round 6 to 7 single crochet all the way around in black, stuff firmly, and then round 8 decrease all the way around and then close up the hole. So I'll meet you when you finished all of that, and then we will need to obviously sew this gap closed between the legs. I've got the 2 legs now, so I'm just going to close up this little gap between the legs now. So I've got a little length of the brown colour, and I'm just going to be doing a whip stitch along this gap here. Just like that. Now that that's closed up, I'll just weave the yarn tails through, and then I can cut them. So now we're just going to need to sew the head to this body. Before I sew the head to the body, I've added some stuffing to the body, as you can see here, and then we left our tail on the head, so this is what I'm going to be using to sew the head down to the body. Just make sure that you have the front of the body positioned properly, so mine's going to look like this. I'm just going to start sewing all the way around. Again, I'm probably just going to be doing a whip stitch. Don't worry if your stuffing pokes through, you can always tidy that up later. So I'm just going to be whip stitching around like this. So I'll meet you when I've done that all the way around. I finished sewing around once and this is what it's looking like. If I shake it, the head is not particularly wobbly, so I'm just going to leave it at sewing around once, but you could sew around an additional time if you're finding that your head is a little bit wobbly. So I'm just going to weave the yarn tail through to the back of the head, and then I can snip that. And we're nearly finished, but now we need to make the two arms. So for the arm, we're going to start off with our black yarn, and we're going to do 5 single crochets in a magic circle for round 1. Then round 2, increase all the way around to get you up to 10 single crochets at the end of the round. And then finally round 3, you're just going to single crochet all the way around, so 10 single crochets. Okay, so that's the end of round 3. I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch and just cut my yarn now, because we're going to be reattaching our cream yarn to do some kind of ribbing effect similar to what we did on the main jumper piece. So grab your cream yarn and we'll start that next. So we're going to reattach our cream yarn into any stitch, and we're going to reattach it into the front loop only. So I'm going to select this one. And I'm just going to grab my cream. Okay, so once that's attached, you're going to start off by chaining 2. And then you're just going to single crochet into the second chain from hook, so this one here. And then you're going to slip stitch into the front loop only of the next single crochet along on the main black part, like that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to again slip stitch into the front loop only of the next black stitch. Then you're going to turn your work like this, trying to kind of ignore the tail. There we go. Then you're going to single crochet into the back loop only of the previous row single crochet that you worked. Then what you're going to do is you're going to chain 1, turn, and then for row 3 again single crochet into the back loop only of this single crochet, and then slip stitch into the front loop only of the next black stitch across, just like this. So you're going to repeat rows 2 to 3 until you get back to where you started, and then again we're going to do a slip stitch to row 1 in the same way that we did for the jumper, the main jumper part. So I'll meet you when you get to that point. So I've done the ribbing bit all the way around now, so I'm just going to do a final slip stitch to join rows 1 and the final row together like this, and then I'm just going to cut my yarn and weave that in. Just going to probably do a little knot on the inside and then leave that hanging inside the arm. So that's that, and I'll just, like I say, just leave that hanging there. So once you finish this, we're now going to reattach our yarn and start working in rounds again rather than rows. So grab your red yarn for this and let's reattach. So you can reattach your red yarn into any stitch, any of the cream stitches, and you're just going to be again trying to work 10 single crochets evenly around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that's the end of round 1, and you should have your 10 single crochets all the way around. The remaining rounds of the arm are just single crocheting all the way around but in different colours. So for the next round, round 2, just stick with your red and single crochet all the way around. In round 3, change to cream and single crochet all the way around. Round 4, change to blue and single crochet all the way around, and then rounds 5 to 8, change back to cream and single crochet all the way around. I'll meet you at the end of round 8, as we'll then need to stuff the arm very lightly, and then we'll be slip stitching across to close the arm, and then we'll be obviously sewing the arms to the body, and then that will be it. I got to the end of round 8 and this is what it's looking like. So we're just going to add a very small amount of stuffing just to the end of the arm. So I'm just going to push this inside like this and push it all the way to the bottom like that, and then we'll leave the rest of it unstuffed. So just to finish this off, we're going to be working 5 slip stitches across the top to close up the arm. And then just cut your yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. So once you've got 2 arms, come back here and we'll sew them to the body and then we'll be finished. I've already sewn down one of the arms, so I'm just going to do the other one with you now. So I'm just positioning this, and then I'm going to start sewing that, doing a whip stitch along the top. finish it off, I'm just going to sew down a couple of stitches at the front and the back to keep the arm kind of a bit more flat to the body. So 1, 2, and then I'll just weave the yarn tail through to the back. One, 2, just going to check how that looks. I think that's fine. So then I'm just going to weave my yarn tail through to the back, and then I can just snip all remaining tails that I haven't already snipped. So that is the finished Erik, and I'll show you a better view of this now. So this is what my finished Erik looks like. I think he's really cute. And yeah, I hope yours turned out alright. If you have any other Animal Crossing characters you want me to make, please do leave them in the description below. I love making Animal Crossing characters. And yeah, that's it. So I shall see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.